a fascinating topic, man. It is. It's unfortunate it's so controversial, man. I mean, you literally can't say much of anything nowadays without it becoming something. Like the big discussion this week was a young lady named Eboni K. She was on an interview with Iyanla Vanzant. And Iyanla asked, they were talking about some discussion about relationships, finances, and things like that. And it ended up being, Iyanla asked her, would you date a bus driver? And that's been a hot topic in the black community.
Okay, I saw something like
dating a bus driver?
Yeah, would you date a bus driver? Her answer was no, I'll date a bus driver owner, the bus owner. You know what I'm saying? So the black community is land-basing this woman because it looks like she's taking a dump on the little man, the working class. You know what I'm saying?
Which they should.
Right. It's an interesting discussion, though, because I agree with her point as well as Iyanla's point, because Iyanla told her she's wrong. You should date a man, you should want to be with a man for who they are as a person. Right. They love their mother. If they're a good man, if they love driving a bus, so be it.
Yeah.
But, then on the other side, Eboni K. Williams' side, I mean, any woman that has a standard for herself, she wants to date a particular guy, that's your personal opinion. I mean, I don't care. But the position she took it's like she took a dump on the common worker, because she said, and now this is a very good point, and she did an interview on Breakfast Club too, because that was right after that interview, and they were like, you was kind of wrong for that. Yeah. But her position is, black people, we need to stop taking mediocre jobs. Now, if you love being a bus driver, you love being a janitor or a service individual, that's fine. But it's too many of us in these roles, just globally. And so her thing is, that leaves us vulnerable from an economical standpoint and even a health standpoint, because you get these types of roles, and then like when COVID comes or something, you're on the front lines. So that was her position with that. And the black community is in uproar, but I think it's a very healthy discussion for the black community to say, hey, let's look at that. How can we increase our economics, our education, and stop just getting the baseline roles out there?
Right.
It's nothing wrong with it, but it's just other options to look at. So it was a good discussion. I didn't want to digress from the other discussion.
No, that's good.
However, that's a good discussion also, because she really messed up with it, and people are really upset with her. But it is making people talk, though. And it's interesting. Ironically, her mother was a bus driver.
Really?
So yeah.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. So, but it's a slippery.
That's
slope.
a hard one. Yeah.
It is, because she's a successful, well-to-do woman. She's a lawyer.
Okay.
And she's like a celebrity personality, I guess. Her name's Eboni K. Williams.
Okay.
And so I think when you're in that type of a position, it's kind of easy to say, black people, we need to pull each other up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm not trying to insult y'all, but pull yourselves up and stop, taking these baseline positions like just working on the line or, got some postal route. And she just kept saying all these entry-level positions are kind of just focusing on mediocrity and not maximizing our potential. And then she just really tried to play it up like, I'm just talking to black people that want to maximize their potential. And it's a slippery discussion, because
very much so.
A lot of our people that we can, like a lot of our parents, grandparents, they had just entry-level jobs, because the bigger discussion is there's a system in place that keeps a lot of us in those types of situations. So that's a good discussion, man. I know we're all over the place, but
that's fine.
You good?
That's a hard one. That's something I would have to sit and consider, because it's really hard for me. I've had blue collar jobs my entire life.
Yeah.
Man, that's rough.
But see, so Iyanla's whole point was, and I think the point of the black community is, and so this is really where it really took a head, is black men. This is almost feels like a black woman talking to black men, particularly, not necessarily black men and women, but black men. And it's a lot of black men coming out against her. So like on Breakfast Club, DJ Envy he destroyed her, man. Like he was really upset, and he took it very personal. And he was talking for the blue collar worker.
I take it personally.
Yeah. He took it very personally. He was very upset with her, because it's like a lot of people, sometimes their aptitude, their station in life and their condition, whatever it may be, that's the role that they're in. And a lot of them may like it. So don't chop them up like that.
Yeah.
And so she was making the point, like, Envy, this is very irresponsible how you coming at me like this, because I'm literally not dogging people for that. then everybody else, like Charlamagne, everybody else on the panel were like, you kind of are, though. We saw the interview. You kind of are,
Yeah.
you know.
That's what it sounds like.
Yeah. And you know, you're well-to-do. You've made it. You know, you did everything you could. This is your station in life. So now you kind of not looking back and trying to pull people forward. You're kind of looking down and saying, come on, let's do better, black people. Stop reveling in mediocrity and entry-level roles, because we all can do better. We have more potential, and we're just not maximizing it. That was her ultimate summation, and I think that was also kind of irresponsible and dismissive. In her position also was, I'm really not here to, you know, for people's feelings. I can't really help how you feel about it. So that further pushed her away. You know what I'm saying? Pushed everybody away. And so, but I think it's a hell. If it's approached properly, it could be a healthy discussion.
Yes,
It really is. I mean, because there are some lazy people, and then there are people that are working hard. There are people that can't get it right. There are people who their socioeconomical positions and conditions in life, it's a lot they just don't know. Yeah, you know. So, you know, it's a good discussion.
I mean, it's so many points to this discussion. So many things to think about and consider before making a blanket statement like it sounds like she made. And I didn't hear her interview. I'm hearing it secondhand, third hand, whatever it is. But there's so many other things to consider, because a person that is making an honest living, regardless of what they're doing, has my respect to the utmost.
Absolutely.
Likewise.
Whether you're flipping burgers or whether you're, you know, running Google, whatever it might be, if you're making an honest living and you are diligent and hardworking, you have my respect as a person. Black, white, otherwise, young, old, whatever.
Definitely.
I think one of the things that bugs me quite a bit is the fact that her mindset may be one that is kind of, like you said, she may have good intentions. Yeah. I don't know what her intentions are. She sounds like somebody that I would want to be friends with. But if her intentions are good, she still is creating a dialogue from a perspective or that resonates with the perspective of women who do dog black men.
Yeah. That was the position.
And that's what bugs me the most. Yeah. Because we, and this is just not men, this is not just black women, but we as a community have put the dollar above a person's character.
Yes, exactly.
We are associating ourselves, whether it's romantically or otherwise, just being friends or community or friend circle, whatever. Yeah, we're valuing a person's income more than we value what they're about as a person, what their moral compass looks like, how much they respect humankind. Yeah. All of those kind of things are pushed to the wayside, or maybe just an afterthought after I know how much money you have in the bank, or you know. So it's to the point now where it's driving, going back to the relationship thing, you know, who would you date, whatever. It's putting pressure on people who would otherwise maybe not have a problem having a regular day job, 9 to 5, working hard, honest living, to now they're robbing and scamming and stealing and all of this kind of stuff just to have the status that will allow a person to say, okay, well, now I got it, so now I can get with whatever her name is. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Which is, to me, that's ridiculous, because then you sacrifice everything else about yourself in order to chase the dollar. Yeah. Just so you can have this status. That's a, like you said, that's a slippery slope to be on to where the dollar amount that a person earns is. That's hard for me, man.
What's cool is though, man, is it really what I'm bringing up here, it ties into what you brought earlier about coming together and unifying for a common cause. So that the community that you spoke of earlier, they coming together, and in their mind, this is a reality for them. For us and our people, it actually is. It's not our perception. It actually is a reality, what we have to deal with, right? But we have to say to ourselves, and, you know, use that example that I brought up about the young lady, and say to ourselves, okay, how can we have that discussion and unify over it, though? Normalize this discussion of, okay, and this is like in-house. This is like family meeting type stuff, right? So it's like, how can we say to our black woman and the black man, let's come to some common ground on our understanding of our roles in the society that we're living in. Not the society that's been created for us, but the society that we actually live in. And that helps alter and heal our perceptions of roles, responsibilities, and how we need to look at one another. Because the discussion with her and Iyanla was around women bringing too much masculine energy into relationships. So they, society has positioned them to be breadwinners. They're making more income. They're getting educated. They're having kids later, if at all. And so there's a masculine energy there now that men in general don't feel that they can compete with. That was the overall discussion.
Gotcha.
And so it became problematic because Iyanla, the discussion took a turn because Iyanla asked her, like, would you date a bus driver? And she was like, I would date a bus owner. And so that really exploded online because we always need essential workers, entry-level positions to be filled, always. Because
the poor you will have with you always. That's scripture.
Yeah. Any society needs that. And there's nothing wrong with it, but but the mentality has become, if you're not making six figures or more, or if you're not, you don't have this type of degree, if you didn't go to this Ivy League school, then you don't really count, you don't really rate. And so that's trickled down to the Black community. And then I think Black people, both men and women, have become affected by it, actually. Black men, because Black men's thing is, I want a woman that, the younger Black dudes, they come in like, what is she bringing to the table financially? You know what I'm saying? Out of protection for themselves, I guess, financially. So I think we can glean from that example of unity and unifying is we have to just sit on the table and say, do we love each other as a people? Okay, if the answer is yes, well, let's talk about the problems, especially as it relates to finances and relationships. Because I think we put too much focus, there has been too much focus put on, like you said, what you can bring to the table financially and not who you are as a human being. That's very problematic. Whereas the trans and LGBT community, they're focusing on who we are as human beings, who we've chosen to be as human beings, and we're fighting for that. That's what we have to do. But
That's a good point.
But our thing is, we have not chosen this. We're fighting for, we are human beings, and we want to be treated. You want to say equal, but the thing is, you really want to say, I just want to be treated as a human being. That's the bottom line, because equality is what is the different perceptions of, I'm treating you as equal, right?
Right.
So I think it's very imperative that we really focus on relationships over what can you do for me or what have you done for me lately type of thing. Because if we keep in that direction, then it's just going to continue to spiral out of control. And then society is going to, the evil aspects of society and the leaders of that evil society are going to really play on that, which they already are doing to keep us divided. Because we love each other as a people, Black man and Black woman. We do love each other, but when you put those little things in there, those little disruptive suggestions of, well, I mean, you kind of better than him. You don't really need a Black dude to come up. You know what I'm saying? You can come up and then get you maybe somebody else. You know what I'm saying? So, and then I think society's also just trying to ultimately make the Black man extinct. So that's a whole nother problem. That's a whole nother discussion. My goodness.
Yeah.
So yeah. And then we've covered some of this stuff in obviously other shows, but it's a good broader topic to really examine, simply because, and obviously we don't experience it, but there are many that do that we can talk to. Many of our male counterparts that do experience feeling that rejection and feeling like I can't compete with these women nowadays, because a lot of them are like making six figures. A lot of Black women are CEOs and execs, man. I mean, they're doctors. I mean, and a lot of dudes that are blue collar working on the line, they don't even think about that at all. Like some of them don't even get married. They're like, I can't compete even with just a basic woman, so. Yeah, I don't want to keep talking, so.
No, you're fine.
Good.
Yeah, but it's very thought-provoking. It is.
Very much so. I got a million thoughts running through my head.
Because it really does, and the reason why I'm driving it is because it really does go into the point that you started with about unifying as a people for a common cause.
Yeah.
And what we can glean from that group.
Yeah.
And all of that. And how they've become so successful, because it is literally numbers. It really is numbers, man. It's no one person doing it. Exactly. They don't have some great leader rising to the top to spearhead it. You know, it's like all of them collectively, and they're in higher ranking departments and things like that, and that's how they're doing it, man. I mean, you got those people in Congress and their state reps and things, and in the trans community. So yeah.
Y'all got any thoughts?
What? I'm trying to think, 'cause I'm thinking back to
Bill Cosby's comments and everything too.
Mm-hmm.
And I think
Turn a little bit.
one of the things we gotta figure out is how do we have that discussion in a productive way?
Exactly.
Because too many times it's happening for people that maybe they have good intentions, maybe they don't.
Mm.
But with the way that they say it, it's a way to have that conversation without being offensive or without slamming somebody or degrading them.
Mm-hmm.
Why is it that every time the conversation comes up, it's because somebody is saying it in a negative way or like in a way that's hurtful to people?
Mm-hmm.
Is there nobody that's having a conversation in a productive way? Is it not possible to have a conversation in a productive way without offending somebody? It's just like, it seems like there's a better way to have the discussion. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And to your other point about there's no one leader, there's no single person you can point to as the head of the movement, of like alternative lifestyles. And we seem to be incapable of mobilizing without that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think it's important to, and I'm kind of bridging those two topics because I think we have to have the conversation in a productive way to get everybody on the same page without it coming by way of beating them over the head.
Right.
And I shouldn't say I haven't seen, but it's like, are we only catching the people that are coming at it in the most negative possible way? And there's a lot of other people who are having the same conversation that just doesn't get the same kind of airplay.
That's what I was just
You know what I mean?
say. You gotta realize what sells in the media.
Right. Exactly.
Controversy.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if nothing else, even like what we use this channel for, it's like, let's figure out what are the positive and the productive ways to have that conversation without demeaning somebody in the process. Like, instead of, oh, I made it and you didn't, like, let's have that conversation about how do we find people in our community that want to do better for themselves and what they are, and how do we help empower them to do that? How do we enable them? You know what I mean? How do we find initiatives and programs and things like that for somebody that wants to do better for themselves, regardless of where they're. If you got a 6-figure job and you want the next step, you know what I mean?
Right.
Or if you work in something minimum wage and you want the next step, it doesn't matter where you are. Let's look at just empowerment for our people in general, you know what I'm saying, and figure out how to do that in a way that's not slapping somebody in the face, you know what I mean, before you, just to get them to have a meaningful conversation, you know what I mean?
That's a very good point.
So, because like Bill Cosby too had very valid points in the way in things he said, and it's like, this is again why I don't understand why people that are intelligent that want to speak to the community for positive things, you see how intentions, and I do think I think he had good intentions in the way he did it, but it's like you end up negating every possible thing you say that can help when you deliver a message that way. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, if people can't step outside themselves and tune it down to a degree where it's, again, productive, then you might as well shut up, because all you end up doing is making so much negative noise. Nobody's able to pull anything positive out of what you say at all. You know what I mean? Because I think Cosby had some very, very valid points in what he was saying, but that conversation so rarely happens to look at what are those things that he said that were actually beneficial, because everybody is so offended. Now, we can't help somebody getting offended. I'm just saying, like the speech that he made that time about is it one of the commencements? I forgot what.
Yeah, he was kind of going off on black dude sagging and different things like that.
Okay. Yeah.
And again, some meaningful things to talk about, but it's a way you could do that and have that conversation without stepping on somebody in the process. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I would think that as much noise as that speech made, people will look at it as, okay, you know what, if there's things that need to be done, and he did touch on things that need to be done, if the way he said it caused more negative publicity and coverage than positive and acceptance of what he said, if you're serious about that work, it seems like you go back to the drawing board, like, let me figure out a different way to have that conversation. Yeah. It hasn't been successful. Coming at somebody and beating them upside the head of, I'm better than you are, get better, that's never worked. You know what I mean?
Never.
So immediately I question the sincerity of a person who comes at the topic that way. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't think you have any real intention of making the community better if that's the best you can come up with for how to help people do better.
I see what you're saying, but I'm not sure if I completely agree. Only because I think about the background that most of us have come from.
Right.
We've come from a background of, this is the way that I live, and I believe this 100%, and anybody that doesn't live or believe this way, you know, it's my job to dog you out, to judge you, to put you down, to make you feel small so that you can somehow, like you said, it's never worked, but that you can somehow bring yourself up to the level that I hold myself at. I hold myself in very high esteem, and I look down at everybody else. Excuse me, and I say to you that it's your responsibility to recognize that you're a worm.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And so coming from that background, which a lot of us, especially in the Black community, have come from, to me, it's a natural progression, no matter how sincere I am.
Right.
If I haven't awakened myself to realize the points that you're making, if I haven't awakened myself, then how can I ever know that my words can't be as effective as they should be? You know what I mean?
Right.
So until a person has had a certain awakening within themselves to know that love and compassion is the only real effective approach, especially when you're looking to change somebody's life, there is no more effective approach than love and compassion.
Right.
And so without them crossing that, I guess, mental bridge, they can be sincere. I think they can be sincere and just be wrong.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Sincerely wrong.
Yeah, sincerely wrong. Yeah.
And they
So-
become out of touch really quick.
Yeah. So, it's perspective too, right? Like ground zero is the individual, right?
Okay.
And is always looking outward, right? You know what I mean? Comparing yourself or looking at yourself and looking at other people, either you comparing yourselves against them or them comparing yourself against you or whatever the case may be, right? And one of the things that that I was thinking about was not only the perspective, but the assumption. Like if a woman or a man was able to say who they wouldn't date because they were a certain level, pedigree, or whatever the case you want to call it, right? You can be a bus driver, and that is your side hustle. You see what I'm saying? Like you don't know. Shoot, my grandfather was a bus driver, and he owned a huge house in Detroit, and he took care, and a wife that didn't work. You know what I'm saying? They did. So you can be successful at any position just because the surrounding elements that you know that possibly was and I don't even know the woman or anybody, right? I'm just saying, like, for a person to look at a person, I'll never talk to or date a bus driver, right? Because of your experiences with the people that you know were bus drivers, you can't lay that across the vein, generalize it across everybody. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. That's unfair. And I think we all were saying the same thing. You just can't do that, right? But another point is this. When we stand up somewhere, and I got to be careful because easily I can think that way too against someone, right? So while you guys was talking about this, how would you feel when a person consider your words and take ownership of what you said? Does that make you a better person? You know, you understand what I'm saying? Like,
say that.
Okay, it's weird in my head, so I'm trying to get it out.
It's weird in my
head. I'm trying to get it out of my brain, right?
Okay.
So, if this person, like Bill Cosby said, yeah, you know, black guys got to do better, stop sagging this, that, and other. If they went on and changed their way of doing things, does that make you a better person?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, what are you becoming in the process of another person's reception of that, right? And I've always considered that.
That's a deep thought.
I always consider that, like, what am I becoming in the process of all these things?
First, you made a very good point about a person's perspective being what is real to them. And we can't deny that. And so I think that speaks to what DJ Envy was saying about, by the way, we paused it and watched most of the Breakfast Club interviews. So now we have
Williams, yeah.
So now we have more insight and we can speak on it a little bit more. Right, yeah, more context. What Envy was saying was 100% true because a person's perspective is their reality. And so in order to speak to a person and want to reach them, so it's one thing to talk at somebody, but it's another thing entirely to speak to somebody and want to actually reach them and have them be able to commune with you. if you're doing that, there's no way that you can address a person and not regard their feelings.
Exactly.
It's not possible.
That's good.
That's it.
Right.
That's good.
Because their perspective is that my perspective is that you're talking down to me. So it's up to you as the teacher, as the leader, as the message bringer.
Take on those titles without regard for who.
There you go.
Precisely.
Yes.
Precisely. Yeah. Exactly. And so while I do agree with most of what she was saying, I think
delivery.
Exactly. The word, that's the perfect word. The delivery was one of, and I hate to use the word because I don't know her, but from what it sounds like, which again is my perspective, it sounds like elitism. It really does.
There you go.
As much as as much as I agree with the actual words that she said, the fact that we are disproportionately occupying the core of mediocrity in this country. I agree, but first of all, there's a lot of other factors to consider when you talk about that because historically we've been kept at a certain level, and there is a certain way that we could rise. And we don't have that right now.
You got me a good thought. Man, this is a pretty good thought, man. You said historically, man.
His face is like I wasn't done.
No.
Age range.
Right. Right. No, man, keep going.
No, we gotta put that.
I know. I don't want you to get to that point. I saw Mike like
Second either stop talking.
Yeah. Mike,
you going up?
Yeah. I saw Mike like.
Okay, you go ahead.
Sure thing.
Bro,
you done know me.
Keep going. Y'all both go. Keep going.
Because I'm going to forget, man. I'm telling you. I'm terrible with it, man.
I done already forgot, so go ahead. Bro, that was perfect. Oh my goodness.
When you look at, if you look at black folks for historically, right?
Yep.
And it was a struggle to get those HBCUs going and the different colleges and whatnot to get educated enough to really combat issues from two sides. She was very skillful at bringing points to clear up herself. That's education. That's education. You know what I'm saying?
For sure.
She knew how to do that, right? However, DJ Envy, he recognized that.
Yeah.
And he brought it
her card for sure.
He did.
That really, when it comes to, and I don't even know if this is a debate. It had nothing to do with debate. It was clearly seeing something that's missing.
Yeah.
And I think DJ Envy, he recognized what was missing. He
called her out.
He really did.
Yeah.
And like you said, the delivery, it really didn't matter because I think a lot of people will still see the heart. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people know what's real or not. You know what I'm saying? The someone is genuine about it. And I'm glad you brought that video up so we can actually really see the context of what's going on.
Makes a big difference.
It makes a lot of sense, And really, if you slow down and really look at the perspective of an individual, you said something. This is the reason why I cut you off.
No, you good.
It's the eliteness.
Yeah.
Right? You say if you slow down and you really think about it, it really puts her in the same category that she's against in some form or fashion, right? And I'm still thinking that through. So how do you, is that a status or whatnot? I'm still trying to think that out a little bit. So once you get educated, academia-wise and different things like that, and you get up there to a certain point, how do you how do you resolve from being in a position that you spoke against for so very long? I don't know if I said that right.
I think it has to be in your heart from the very beginning. If you're not a compassionate person from the beginning, when you reach a certain echelon of status or success, then it doesn't matter. Yeah. You can reach back and try to do a little help or whatever. But if your heart is not compassionate towards the people that you want to serve, you're sounding brass and tinkling cymbals.
Yeah, there you go.
And it's really hard as we as a people. So much has been taken from us historically, and still is. When a few of us get a few crumbs and get to the top, get a piece of paper, get some recognition, we just get this air that gets exposed in some of the hearts of men. Yeah. They get exposed, and
Negro versus field Negro.
Yeah, and then they become frustrated and disenchanted with their own people, And then they end up saying stuff like, why can't y'all figure this thing out like I did?
Right.
I ain't had nothing just like you ain't had nothing.
Right.
We from the same block.
That's what
I came up, why can't you?
That's
And I think that's where the total disconnect happens.
And that's where the lack of compassion
the lack
shows
of compassion.
itself. Yeah,
and she unfortunately, whatever she thought she was trying to do, I took it ultimately when I was done with that interview. I'm like, that was just clean up. Because my wife looked at the original interview with Iyanla and she was like, yeah, Eboni K. Williams, she said what she said and she meant it like she said it. And so she wasn't expecting this backlash. So what y'all just saw was the ultimate, I'm trying to, see, because my thing is you can't become successful as a black person and then insult me and then say, I'm just trying to pull you up. How you going to get mad at me? I'm just trying to pull you up. I'm trying to help you out with some game. Exactly. It's like, no, you're not. You're being condescending and you've made it. Provisions have been made for you. You made a way. Whomever made a way for you. And now what you're doing to me is you're on your high horse and you're kicking me down. And you're punching down on people that have conditions, some of which they can't even help. So, and then they ultimately the problem, the disconnect becomes we just forget too easy.
Yeah, that's
we
good.
We just forget too easy. And I think that's very unfortunate because honestly, she represents a large number of successful black people.
Absolutely. What do you mean when you say we forget too easy?
Forget where you come from.
Where we come from.
Gotcha.
Like when you get and all of us don't do it.
Born in the field, but now you're in the house. Right?
Yeah. You just forget too easy when you get a little crumb of something. And I mean, it's nothing much, man. I mean, when you think about it, 6 figures, if you're a millionaire, none of that means anything because you're never really successful unless your brother is, unless your child is successful. You only are because you can't be an island unto yourself, right? And so a lot of other groups are successful. Not as individuals, but as groups.
Bring each other up,
but it's because they are groups and they become successful like that.
Yeah.
We allow. See, the thing is, it's not that we're not unified. It's that we just allow ourselves to become distracted. That's ultimately what it is. Because many of us have hearts of gold. We're very hard workers, obviously, because we built this country, right? But we allow ourselves to become woefully distracted by the most insignificant things. And so she was like, I don't deal in feelings. I understand her perspective on that because feelings are what get us messed up.
Sure.
Just like that interview. In the way Envy felt, he did represent very well how people feel. They're very angry. And so we're distracted by our feelings. And then we can get nothing done. All we're focused on now is we're mad at Eboni K. Williams. When what we should do is take and remove her from those words and look at those words. That's what I did when I looked at it.
Good point.
Yeah.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, just take her out of the equation. Just take her out of the equation and just look at those words. Because the words actually, she had some valid points and peppered in there,
Yeah.
But again, the delivery is ultimately the problem. Like Bill Cosby, like Steve Harvey, and all these guys black people, we need to wake up. But people tired of hearing that. It's just like, okay, we need to wake up. Give us a blueprint and then go out into the community and focus on normalizing it. Don't browbeat. And don't, when you do something as a black person, be on social media and be on the camera like, this is what we doing now. This benefit I got, this program I got right here. It's like, just move in silence. Like, I don't need to know what you're doing. And ultimately, again, that creates a disconnect also. When you take your celebrity and you show I'm helping my people, I'm for my people, but you out here like, look what I'm doing for my people. It's like, that doesn't work either. All these things create a disconnect.
Jim Carrey had a really good quote about that. He said imagine yourself being a homeless person and you're starving and somebody walks up to you with a sandwich and they feed you a sandwich. You're going to be grateful. But imagine that person has a camera while they're handing you the sandwich. You still have to take the sandwich, but it makes you feel like dirt. You know what I mean? Because now it's not about a person showing love to another person. It's about me showing the world what I'm doing for this person that is let. I agree with you 100%.
That goes back to the point that was made earlier about what are you becoming in the process of your
your service.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about. And it's like when you talk about like Steve Harvey,
Can I just say this right quick?